probably to all of us. But at one point, the economy will reopen. It's a matter of when, not if. But a more important question is how. Opening businesses too soon could lead to a second wave of the virus. Too late, the economy may never recover. Businesses will go bankrupt. What is the best path forward? Now, Donald Trump's going to have an announcement on his path forward in about 27 minutes. But the president and CEO of the Business Council of Canada penned an open letter to the Prime Minister on just this topic. And he joins us from Ottawa. Goldy, Hyder, great to have you, and I hope you and the family are doing well in the middle of this crazy pandemic. What are you calling on the government to do when it comes to some planned reopening for the economy?
Well, let's get it right, I guess, is the big picture message here, because it's a long road back. And the Prime Minister, I think, in his narrative over the course of the last several days has been very honest with Canadians and should be commended for that. There is no quick fix here. But it is important that while we are going to be guided by the health and the medical advice that we're going to be receiving in terms of how to mitigate the risks around the virus, we should use this time to plan and prepare in some way a nationally coordinated plan with the economy. Because while our healthcare has been managed provincially, Evan, the economy is a little bit more complicated than that, right? Because it's a supply chain driven reality, both inside the country, but also outside the country as it relates to our partners in the United States and others. So we really feel that there's an opportunity here to some extent of taking the time to plan how we, what I say, tiptoe our way back into the economic recovery that is a very long runway, as you know.
Yeah, we may tiptoe quietly, but next door, they're not tiptoeing so quietly. You're calling for a coordination with key trading partners when it comes to the plan, but Canada's largest and most important trading partner, the United States, has a continuing rising number of COVID-19 cases. It seems there's a whole disconnect between their federal government and their states. Tonight, the president's talking about opening up the border. Should Canada take cues from the United States or not? How do we manage that?
Well, look, there's this thing called the border, and it actually requires both sides to have some control over their side of the border. And it's one thing for the president to say, I'm going to open it all up. But I think that obviously as Canadians, we will determine what's best for Canada, what's best for Canadians, and how it is that we're going to maintain the integrity of the supply chains, yes, but more importantly, of our mutual health and well-being. So I do think that there's a bit of gamesmanship here to some extent, but I am happy to see the position of the Canadian government that any decisions on our border and our decision to let people in and frankly out will be determined by us, not by somebody else. Having said that, the essential services and the supply chains need to be maintained, Evan, and we've been very fortunate because, as you know, our food, a large part of it comes from the United States amongst many other things that we trade. So we need to keep the trade flow going. The critical and essential services are obviously important, but we need to be recognize that we decide what's best for Canada and Canadians, and I applaud the government for the position it's taken on that.
So how do we do this? And I just spoke to the finance minister of Quebec. They've got like a staggered start programming. They're sort of, I guess they're working out right now. The government's expanding all sorts of emergency programs, the emergency business account loan program. Now we're hearing about the commercial rent program, the Canadian Emergency Relief Benefit. There's 100, maybe $200 billion going out the door by the time this thing's all done. What's your view, and when you talk to the CEOs in your group, what do they see as a staggered step back before we get a vaccine?
Yeah, well, look, part of the issue, of course, is we have staggered approach to how we've handled the situation so far. So various provinces are at different places in terms of the cycle of the virus and their response to it, right? The inconsistencies are a bit frustrating for businesses. And one of the things we see here is an opportunity to work together collaboratively with governments. My letter was to the Prime Minister, but also to all of the premiers to say, well, it's true, one size doesn't fit all. We need to make an attempt to have a national approach, a national plan, a national coordination with businesses and labor organizations, because we are, as the hashtag says, all in this together. Let's figure out how to get this right. You're right. These programs, in fact, they expire in a matter of months. I know we're just still talking about how they've been introduced, but they're only 2 months away from expiring. And your number is right. It's close to $200 billion worth of spending has taken place. How much more can we afford? How do we manage that?
Right.
Look, Evan, we're not in charge. The virus is in charge. What we're trying to do is chase it and keep up with it and try and find our best way forward.
All right.
That'll take time.